Welcome everyone to the Shoot and Loot and Outriders Podcast. My name is Outrider Kev, and to my virtual left is my co-host Rob the Man.
Hello, everybody.
Hey everyone, this is our very first episode one for this podcast. I hope you're excited. I know I'm definitely excited, and I know Rob is super excited for this as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what we want to do with this podcast again, it's a brand new podcast that we're making. We want to make sure we bring something that's both informational and fun, but also not so serious. Like if there's things that need to be said about the game or grievances that other players are having online, or any type of comments or complaints, we want to address those as well. Because again, we're playing the same game that you're playing. We want to be able to experience the same things that you're say on there on the online forums. But I don't want it to be like a completely like let's bash on this game type of podcast. At the end of the day, it's a celebration of this game and the achievement that People Can Fly have made ever since Bulletstorm. Because I know the studio has a not a high pedigree in creating a lot of games, at least their own original IP. I know they've helped with they made Bulletstorm, they helped with a lot of the Gears of War games in the past, and it definitely shows in this game. And I just want it to be a good podcast, something that we can talk about the news and things like that on the weekly or maybe semi-weekly basis, and be able to enjoy and play with you guys out there. And now, in regards to that, I just wanted to go ahead and give some quick overviews of how we felt about the demo now that it came out. It's available for all players on all platforms. It's cross-gen, which is really cool. We've never had a game, or not a lot of games that have been cross-gen this generation. We're talking about PlayStation people playing with Xbox people, playing with PC people, playing with Stadia people, RIP
Right.
Stadia. But anyways, so we definitely want to be able to take advantage of that. And I love that they're offering it for this game, because I'll be honest with you, this game I think is a smaller scope game when it comes to this type of genre of shooting and looting, right? I don't think it's as big as Borderlands. It's not as big as Destiny, but I think this game could definitely carve out its own niche. But first of all, let me just share some impressions of the demo. I think the demo is a great starting point. You're able to try out every single character. They give you enough of a breadcrumb that you want to play more and then still engage with the other classes. It gives you enough time before the release date to be able to give everyone a try in all these different type of classes. And honestly, the way that the game sets up its story arc about this being the last bastion of humanity trying to survive on this planet Enoch, all of that is cool. I kind of like some of the humor, not all the time. Sometimes I think it is cringy, but it's that type of game where you can't take it too seriously because the subject matter itself is kind of dark. But overall, I like the demo. I'm loving the classes. I can't wait to play more. Rob, what do you think?
I definitely think there are some cringy, cheesy one-liners and things like that, and the way they kind of pull off some of the macabre humor. You know what I mean? Where it's
Hmm.
like cutting people's heads off and stuff like that. It's a little '80s for me. A little like a cheesy '80s movie, but I don't think it's bad. I think it. At first it was cringy, and I'm kind of getting used to it. I'm learning to appreciate it. Where a game like this, not taking itself seriously, I think it's the best way to go.
Right, no, definitely. Okay, now you mentioned something super funny that I thought was hilarious. Now it's kind of like it has that 80s bro type of vibe to it, but
Yeah,
it
that
tries not to take itself
meathead,
too
kind of
seriously.
like a meathead vibe. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it takes it a step further than Gears, as far as Gears takes itself seriously
Hmm.
for the most part. This one takes it, it kind of embraces the corniness, and if as the game progresses, if they do it right, I really think that could be something that becomes a feature of the game. You know?
Definitely, definitely. Uh, but I wanted to ask you, okay, damn, do you remember that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger where they were on Mars? I think it was called Total
Yes.
Recall, right?
Yeah. Total Recall,
Okay,
man.
does this game feel okay? Is this Running Man, Total Recall, or a Rambo type of feel out of those three '80s movies?
Ooh, I'm gonna go with Running Man, man.
Right? Doesn't it feel kind of like
Yeah,
Running Man because
yeah,
it has that futuristic vibe, but it has that corny
yeah.
campiness? While Total Recall, while it was like
I mean,
a sci-fi story, but it made sense in that world for what was happening.
yeah. The thing with Total Recall, it was earnest. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? It was a solid story. It was corny and campy and stuff, but I mean that was directed by the same guy who did Starship Troopers and RoboCop.
Right.
So you know what I mean? It's like perfect. But
Okay. So definitely, we have good impressions of the game. We like the demo. What are some of the things that you feel like either you don't feel is strong in the demo itself, or doesn't make a good impression? Because just for example, I think one of the things I think doesn't make a good impression for people who are trying out Outriders is the cover system, because we have lots of games to go by when it comes to a cover based system. We have the Division, we have Gears, which are notoriously some of the best cover systems in the gaming industry. And unfortunately, Outriders' cover system isn't to that level, but I can see it getting to that level at some point.
Absolutely, with some polish. There's some really cool control elements where I really like the mechanic where you hold A and then
Mm-hmm.
you go from, on Xbox, you hold A and then you go from one point of cover to the other, and you just kind of beeline it, and if the prompt shows up and that next cover point is pretty far away, you'll beeline it the whole way, and I really like that. It's very intuitive.
Right, right. And I know Gears didn't have that, but that definitely is a
Yeah.
feature that came out. Well, I don't know if any other game had it, but I remember the Division 1 when that first came out, it had that feature where
Oh, cool, cool.
if you have the line of sight to behind a pillar, behind a bench, whatever, right? It will show you the
Yeah.
line going that way, and you could just be like you said, you can choose that spot and it'll automatically run to that point.
Right, right, and it's great because the speed is good. It's not frustrating in the sense where you start to beeline it to that next cover point, and you get blasted to the point where you can't make it to that next cover point.
Right, right.
Um, it's
But yeah,
it's
but
it's pretty.
overall,
It's the pacing's good.
you're liking the demo, but it needs work at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, the cover system needs a little bit of polish. It
Yeah.
needs some polish. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on. I wanted to talk about a little bit of the story. Now that we got our first taste of what Outriders is, because I'll be honest with you, a lot of the marketing material has been that this is a brand new looter shooter. That's what we call the podcast ShootNLoot. It's a brand new looter shooter, and it's trying to create its own little niche. It's not trying to beat Destiny, even though I think it is, but we'll save that for another discussion. It's
Yeah.
not trying to beat Destiny. It's trying to be more like Borderlands, where they're trying to make a full game that you can play with your friends, but not a game that necessarily you have to come back every day, just like a Avengers or Destiny or the Division, right? Those are games that
Right.
are
Right.
made for you to come back and play into perpetuity. And because of
It
that, they have
definitely
to.
feels.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead.
It definitely feels like the test tube baby of Destiny and Gears. I
Right.
definitely feel that vibe. Like if they had a test tube baby, Outriders would be it. You know what I mean? Like
Definitely,
from the
definitely.
aesthetic to the play style to even when you get into your camp, it feels like Destiny, but it plays like Gears to me. I don't know if that's an accurate assessment, but
No, no,
that's
definitely.
just my opinion.
It really does feel that way. It has so many. It's almost like, how to say it. Do you remember? I don't know if you ever played Shadow of War or Shadow of Mordor, the Lord
Oh
of the
yeah,
Ring
yeah, yeah.
games,
I played the
where you
first one.
played as. Damn, I'm really blank on his name, but you play as this main character that's in the Lord of the Ring games. But you can definitely tell that that game was an amalgamation of different games. You had the Batman
Right.
combat system mixed with some of the Assassin's Creed open worldness and things. It was like a
Absolutely.
mix of
Yeah.
all these great concepts, but made for this licensed game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Outriders feels the same way, where it has all these concepts and borrows a lot of elements from a lot of great games, which is there's nothing wrong with that, and makes Outriders world. But I think what makes and gives it its personality is at the end of the day, its story, its premise, and what you're doing. And that's what I wanted to talk about is let's go into a little bit of the tone of the game. So we're starting off. You're an outrider. You're a explorer, pretty much of trying to find a place for humanity to settle or to be able to thrive. Because I haven't gone super deep into the lore. I've been reading some pages, but it seems like war had taken over war had taken over Earth, and Earth is fucked. Like Earth is just totally
Yeah.
fucked, and we had to bail and find a new planet to settle on, and we found planet Enoch. So we land on the planet. We're quickly set up with the tone of that this is a gun ho, let's fucking do this type of scenario where, hey, we need to find a place to survive. We need to find a place to settle and create humanity.
Yeah.
Boom, suddenly you have a time skip. And that original idea of like, hey, let's be hopeful, let's find a place for us to settle became suddenly a Mad Max type of world where suddenly everything is dire and there's constant carnage and chaos everywhere you look. And how did you feel about that shift in tone? Because I remember when we were talking, when we were playing the demo together, how in the beginning it had this kind of like sci-fi intro where it kind of felt like Halo to me, and then suddenly things happen when you get landed on planet Enoch, and things go to hell, right? Like you wake up several years later, everything is like a giant war-torn world everywhere, and yeah, I mean, what did you think about that whole time skip and the shift in tone? I guess for the game.
Going into the game blind, and we talked about that before the demo came out, where you had some prior knowledge of the game, and I really didn't. I wasn't really following it until the demo was about to come out. Going into it blind, I really liked the way they did it. It seemed really smooth, and the more the game became what it was going to become, as per the demo, the more I liked it. Like the more the game embraced itself, I thought it was good. I thought it was pretty good, and that 30-year time jump was really kind of showed you a possible worst case scenario to where the game started.
Mm-hmm.
It was hopeful. I did think they were gonna, you know what I mean?
Right.
I did think that there was gonna be some semblance of society, and then you're gonna see uprisings and blah blah blah. But I think that would have been a little bit more a la Destiny. I kind of like the fact that
they kind of pivoted to their own little like type of world, because you can't make Destiny. Destiny's already been made. Division is about a pandemic that ravaged the United States. They have their own little story beats, and this, and obviously it's not Marvel's Avengers. Avengers is Avengers, and they have their storyline. And I feel like, kind of like you said, this gives the game its own personality and lets it stand out a little bit more.
And I think the game, for whether you like it or not, what I really like about the game is that it's being approached with with confidence. You know what I mean? Like the things that they're doing, it's like they're doing it. They're going for it.
Oh yeah, they're going for it. I like it.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. I appreciate they're like it or don't, fuck it. This is where we're going.
Right.
So well, I like that.
Overall, I think the tone is good. I don't think it's a detriment. I think it helps it identify itself among all these other games, especially because right now, I know Hivebusters just came out, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think Gears of War really isn't in the gaming consciousness anymore. At least not in the same way it used to be.
I would agree. I think it's in the consciousness of the fans, fans. Just like Halo, it's not as forefront. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not as forefront as it used to be.
Right. Like now you have Last of Us. Now you have Horizon Zero Dawn. You have a lot of different games and different worlds out there. Yeah. Destiny. You have all these newer franchises that are dominating the gaming space. And not everything's gonna last forever. Not everything can be a Mario or a Zelda, right? Exactly. Where it's like several years several decades into the future, and people are still playing those games. Exactly. But either way,
even if you go back like early '90s, where people, essentially the consensus was you have Sonic and Mario, and that was Coke and Pepsi. That is not how shit fucking panned out.
No, now we have like so many different various brands, several different companies that are making tons of great games in the AAA, AA. So you have all types of games and all different types of scale and scope of what those games can be.
Yeah, Sonic turned into like a Shasta Cola. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so sad.
It kind of diluted itself, So I see the same thing happening, with it might be soon for Halo, it might be soon for Gears, but I do see, because I thought Gears 4 was amazing.
Mm-hmm. But either way, Outriders seems to be at least on a good track, at least when it comes to the world that they're building right now.
Yeah, and if they can build that community and keep it going, I think it's going to be,
Now in regards to building community, you can build your own character when you start the game, and I think that's pretty cool. We had mentioned that there's like goods and bads to the character creation, at least in my opinion. Like one thing we loved was that you have these various type of faces, and different definitely they each reflect different ethnic cultures. You have European faces, you have people of color faces in there, then different shades of color, and nothing too unrealistic. You can't put on like neon hair colors or things like that, and you're able to customize a lot of how you look. Not to like a crazy degree like a cyberpunk game, or even like a game like
or even Fallout.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's not a lot of like facial structure changes. It is a preset option, but either way, I still like I think like you mentioned, I love the diversity of the character models that you can choose from. I think that's pretty cool.
The diversity is definitely a strong point, because you can go from European to or African to Polynesian to, there's a huge spectrum. You cover the entire spectrum in the character creation. The only beef I got with it is that there's no love for the fatties. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, come on, man. When I have a character creation, I like to add a couple pounds just so it could feel like me.
Right.
But but it's I suppose if we're in a failed colony, a bunch of light years from Earth, food would be scarce or whatever. But,
and they make a big point of that about how the resources are just really scarce. That's why you don't see a lot of people that are like overweight, or you see a lot of skinny characters, but food is scarce. And I don't know if you ever noticed, like next to one of the merchants in the game, there's like this alien that's just tied up to a board, and they're just like selling its organs, and that's what they're eating.
Nice, that's great.
But yeah, character creation I think is good. I think it's a good selection of characters out there, and I think you can be represented. I don't think it's going to catch everyone, but I think you have a good selection of representation, at least to making diverse characters.
It's a great start.
Yeah,
it's definitely a great start.
I could definitely see them add more. I can definitely see them not add more, because Destiny has had the same character creation for 6 years and it hasn't changed.
Right, but with Destiny, you get all kinds of aliens and all kinds of bots. I had a question, man. Do you know if go through the game? Do you know this yet or not? Do you unlock different hairstyles, different makeup, different like piercings and different hair colors? Do you know if that's a thing?
I know you can unlock emotes, different shaders for your truck, and different things for your banner. But as of so far, when it comes to character creation, like models unlocking different hairstyles and stuff, I haven't seen anything. At least not in this demo.
Okay. While we're on character creation, though, the emote wheel is fucking awesome.
Right?
The fact that you have a wheel is fucking great.
And with all these various options for you to choose from, which is really cool, because now, I mean, I know Division, Destiny have emotes, but some of them are more limited. Like Destiny, for sure, you only have about 4 emotes, and I have like 20 to 30 emotes to choose from. This one, you have a lot more flexibility, and you're allowed to choose for more emotes on your wheel there.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about. We kind of talked already about the overall story, about how we feel about the game demo, about the world that Outriders is making. We get introduced to Shira. She was a young adventurer, a young scientist, and suddenly she becomes this badass, like Sarah Connor type of character who's trying to lead an entire resistance against this other faction that just wants everything to go to hell. And then the third faction where it's just a bunch of people called Altered that have superhuman powers, right? So you have this story where humanity landed on planet Enoch. You had a time skip. You realized that the anomaly, the lightning storm that keeps holding humanity at bay, has not let them leave that valley. They've been stuck in that area, but we know from the demo, from the trailers, that there are other landscapes out there. We've seen like ice areas, jungle areas, things like that. So we're gonna have to assume that we eventually leave and make it out of the storm. And I think that's where the real story will begin. So I'm a little apprehensive to say that this is the story of Outriders, because it could really divert and change into various different story threads. And already with that altered Seth, he mentions that he's not there for the small squabbles, like he put it, right? He's there for the end game. He's there for the big thing that he's looking for, which alludes to something in the future. And I'm assuming that's going to have to deal with your altered powers and everything else too, and how that affects the planet.
That's a great point you just made about excuse me, where the story can possibly go, because in a, what do we got? We got 7 possible levels of upgrading in the demo, and we got 4 story missions, I think.
Right. And we're barely scratching the surface of it too.
We're barely scratching the surface, and we already had a major tonal shift,
Right.
And it felt fluid, like it was a fluid. Like I think they handled it well. But I mean, that's just in the demo. Who knows where they're gonna go with it from here on out?
Right. Exactly.
As far as the tone and how it's gonna change,
No, yeah, definitely, and that's why I'm kind of excited for it, because me, I always like a good story. I always like a good reason to shoot stuff. Like Destiny has a great story if you're looking for it, but the problem is that story isn't fully conveyed in the game that much. Like a lot of the story that I get from Destiny is from like YouTube videos or side pieces or things that I read up on the story, because like, oh, that's why that gun or that character means so much to this person in the game, even though that person in the game or the game doesn't show you that. But it's kind of like that, a little bit of what I want to call is that World of Warcraft effect, where you learn about something and then you want to research more about it, and you realize that there's this whole story and lore set up already from a past game or from a previous thing that happened before, and you can read up on it. Now, Outriders, I don't think is the same way, but they do have a in the game, they have a lore tab where you're able to see a profile of everything that's happening, every landscape, every enemy, every character you ever meet. Everything's there for you. If you want to dig deeper into the story, it's there for you. If you want to see what happened to Earth, it's there for you. Which I think is really cool, because again, some people like me, we love the story. We want to find out more about this world, and we want to absorb as much information as we can. So again, overall story, I think is great. We have Shira. She's like a Sarah Connor. We got Jakub. He's a very like resistant like type of hero, where he's like, you know what, we try to do something, we try to make humanity a place. All of this fuck, I don't want to do anything. Everything's fucked. Like
he's resigned himself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can't blame him.
Right. But again, what do you think? What do you think about Seth? What do you think about Shira or Jakub?
Seth, Seth I like. Jakub is it Jakub or Jakub? I don't remember.
It's really hard. I think it's Jakub.
I like Shira's eye patch. I like, it's like there's a story back there somewhere, and I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
Jakub, his reluctant heroism's cool. The fact that he's an old veteran outrider, and he's just like, fuck this. That's really cool. Because I mean, shit. Imagine 30 years of this crap.
Of constant carnage with no hope,
Yeah. It's just at some point you just kind of accept it. So it's and another point I'd like to make is like, we talked about the type of humor the game has, and it the more we go in depth with it, I really think that humor that they're using is almost to counterbalance
how grim and dark the story is.
Yeah. When you really like kind of put yourself there, it's pretty gnarly.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with you, because again, like Gears had its like somber moments, it had its funny moments, but at the end of the day, when you think of the overall story, it's a messed up story, or it's a messed up world that they live in. Same thing with Outriders, like they were so hopeful, and then 30 years later, suddenly everything changed, and everything's like a dire situation down to like the last breath, right? Type of storyline. And yeah, I totally agree. Like some of those side missions, even though they're cringy or they're a little like they're made to be made fun of. Like when you helped last night when we did the McCain storyline for the side mission, he blew up the guy with the grenade, and he suddenly got sniped right there and then. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, so what? Like, what did you do? You didn't do anything. You didn't help him, and you didn't even help the other guy, because they both died.
Yeah, it was just kind of a lost cause.
Exactly, and I thought that type of humor, it goes great with this story, because you got to bring some levity to it, because if you take it to yourself too seriously, then I don't think it's a game that you would want to go back to.
Yeah, it's handled with the same grace the violence is handled with. I think it's perfect.
Right. But yeah, I think the characters so far are great. I really want to know more about that sniper girl. I don't know. Did you remember when we're about to leave the city, but that's where the demo ends, and you get introduced to that sniper girl that was there when you came out of cryo. Damn, I forgot what her name is, but we'll figure it out once we get the full game there.
I have to go back to it.
Exactly. But overall, she seems cool. A lot of these characters seem really cool. I'm excited to see what the game brings more. And then we see that scientist, Seth. Do we meet other altered out there? Look at that giant whale-looking motherfucker, giant that walks around. Are we gonna find out about that world and how he or those things affect Planet Enoch? All of that's super exciting. Hopefully they can dig deep into it as well.
Right.
Okay, so overall, I'm liking the story. I'm liking where it's going. It sounds like you're really down for it too. You love the humor. We're loving at least lots of little small details about it. One thing that I do have issues is I don't know if the demo does a service or a detriment to ending the story at where that point is left off at. Where you're about to leave the city, right?
Right.
Because if let's say if you're coming in, you're a person who knows nothing about this game, which is, I think, is kind of hard in today's age with social media and the way that we interact online. But either way, let's
Right.
just say you're playing this game and you're like, oh, it's just like a wasteland shooter. Like, I'm not down for that. I'm like, no, look at the marketing material. Look at all the videos that they've released. There's more to this world than just that. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
again,
the
I don't know if that
wildlife.
helps the demo or if it hurts them a little bit. Because again, someone could play this demo. You know what? This is not for me. I don't want to play like a Mad Max type of world. I'm like, no, there's jungles out there. There's all these other things that we have
Yeah.
to explore. Especially when you play that first mission, when it's showing you the tutorial and you fight
Yeah.
that hyena monkey cow thing, right? In
Oh,
the
right, right, right.
grassland environment. I want more of that, and I think this demo, like, the demo gives you a small taste of that, then shows you the wasteland shooter, but then we never go past that, which again, that's for the full game. I just wondering like if that hurts the game's demo impression overall, because I want more of the monkey hyena thing. I want to be fighting weird creatures as well, you know. But this
The
demo doesn't
wildlife
give you fully that
really,
either.
the wildlife really piqued my interest. Like seeing the whale walkers or whatever they're monkey
Exactly.
hyena, the flying creature in that first clip. By the way, that glitches on Xbox One. That little cinematic that starts when they're giving the rolling out the credits. It's beautifully animated. Um, but there's I think without fail, there's always been a little glitch, a little frame catch up thing that it's got to do. But the 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 wildlife definitely has piqued my interest. I hope that there's more of that, of the where you have to go, traverse, traverse some areas where you're not only engaged in firefights, but you also have to deal with a giant creature or something that's kind of just throwing a wrench in everybody's plan.
Exactly right. That's kind of what I want too, and I'm pretty sure they'll get there. It seems like that game is setting up for that. It's just that obviously they had to cut the demo at some point, and it makes sense that you
Right.
cut it exactly at the point where you're about to leave the city and leave that type of corridor shooter behind. I mean, I think there's still going to be corridors and areas you're going to have to fight on, but again, like that first little taste when you fight that creature in the beginning, I think that you're gonna get a good mix of fighting enemies that have guns and fighting creatures, because
Right.
I think that's just the world that they're setting up right now.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yep.
It gives me like a nice like the locust from Gears vibe, or even like the creatures from Lost Planet.
Right, exactly.
The big, the bigger monsters from Lost Planet. I'm hoping you get to ride one of those whale walkers.
Look at me,
But
ma. Woo!
yeah, I'm walking a whale. No, but yeah, that's I really hope that they go there.
Right. Okay. So
Very cool character designs. Very cool.
no, yeah, definitely. I can't wait to see what the armor looks like. I know I've seen some pictures online of how they're developing the armor, and it looks really badass. But even like some of these beginning armor pieces and weapons that you get, they look really cool. I like the looks of them,
Yeah,
to be honest with you. And
yeah,
I like how they're like, not every weapon is like perfect. Some are dingy looking, but that's
yeah.
because you're gonna see an evolution of how that gear progresses as you get to the higher levels.
Right on. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah,
Okay.
some of those rusty guns, they play great, but they look like shit.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm glad we were able to touch a little bit on that story. Let's talk about actually playing the game. Let's talk about the gameplay itself. Now, I wanted to start off with, let's go ahead and with a brief overview of some of the character classes. I got a chance to play all four of them. I have a level 7 Devastator, level 7 Pyromancer, and a level 7 Technomancer, and then last night I left off with the level 6 Trickster. Classes have you played already so far?
I started with the Trickster. I got him up to level 7. I got my Pyromancer up to level 7. I'm rocking a level 5 Devastator,
Hmm.
and I'm yet to try out the Technomancer, but I'm saving that one for last.
Perfect. Okay, so let's start with the Devastator then. We have the Devastator. It is definitely your more tanky class. It's the
Mhm.
let's get up there and punch him in the face type of class and be able to
Yep.
mitigate a lot of damage. What did you think about the Devastator?
I really like the abilities. The ability, like that gravity jump ability,
Hmm.
is super fucking cool.
It's
Because
really
even if
fun.
you don't, yeah, because of the radial damage, it's like you don't even have to land on your target exactly, but just landing in the vicinity, especially when you have a crowd of snipers, a crowd of enemies like bottlenecking through a corridor.
Hmm.
You hit them with that gravity jump, and it just wipes everybody out. super freaking cool. I like the golem ability, but it looks a little chunky. It reminds me of the old Iceman was a man with boots. Remember
Mm.
that? Where before nerd alert, before Cyclops teaches him how to harden his snow into ice. That was X-Men number 5 in like 1966. Anywho, but yeah, that's not true. I made that. Don't check those. But yeah, I hope that they develop the golem ability a little bit more to look a little cooler, because it does look a little just like
Looks a little muddled.
it looks like a turd. It looks a
Yeah.
little like a poop monster, you know. But but it's still cool. I love the damage. I love the resistance to damage that you get from it. And what was the other one? The other one was very similar to the
It was like an earthquake
Pyromancer.
ability. You punch on the ground, and there's like a straight
Right,
line.
and it brings up a line of like a seismic line.
Yeah.
The Devastators remind me, back to X-Men, remind me of Avalanche from the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
The way he kind of controls seismic activity. The Devastator kind of reminded me of that. The damage is awesome. It's very up close. I really enjoy playing with the Devastator. Can't wait to level him up all the way.
Yeah. I don't know if you know me. Well, in Destiny, I like playing a Titan. In Destiny, you have 3 classes. You have Titan, you have a Hunter, and you have a Warlock. Titan's your up, let's punch it in the face. Your Hunter's your rogue, let's stab it in the face. And then your Warlock's like, no, let me just magic blast it in the face, right? And Devastator's definitely up my alley. I really, really like the Devastator class. Because I've always been that type of character where I love just getting in there and just fucking nailing and destroying everything in my path through my fists, right? Even though I know in real life I'm not that type of person, but still, it's just fun playing those type of classes in games because it's the meat and potatoes type of gameplay that I like. Let's get in there and punch shit up, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And I love, like you mentioned, his the warp that they do, where the Devastator jumps into the air and then lands down like a Superman landing, or just fucking devastates anything around it. And yeah, it just has great mitigation. I love that you can use the molten armor, or the golem armor, sorry, either defensively, or let's say if there's like 5 enemies there and you don't want to leave and your shotgun's full, right? Has a full clip, put on the golem and just start wailing on them and start annihilating them. Annihilating them while you're not taking any damage, or very reduced damage,
Reduced damage, yeah.
And I like that they allow you to play it in that manner. Yeah, but definitely Devastator's great. It's a great up and close class. And speaking of close quarter classes, let's talk about the Trickster next, because I know you have the most experience with that, and I just played that last night. And like the Devastator, the Trickster also relies on a lot of mechanics that you have to be close range for a lot of those abilities, and especially for your healing. Devastator and Trickster, they both work the same way, where they heal a lot based on kills at close proximity. So now we have a Devastator that is about killing it up close and mitigating damage. And then you have the Trickster that's more about stealth, but up close killing as well.
Shuck and jive.
Exactly. One thing I liked about the Trickster is, one, that slowdown bubble is amazing. It sets up for great combos and it works well with so many classes. Like, let's say you do the warp bubble, right? It slows everything down. You have a Pyromancer come with their flame wall, or you have even the Devastator do their seismic earthquake attack, and and they'll catch everything that's in that bubble. I think the Trickster among all the classes is the best one when it comes to that ability specifically, because it allows enough time for your teammates to set up a combo while everything is slowed down in that bubble.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time imagining a squad without a Trickster in it.
Right?
Not that I would always play as a Trickster, but using the Trickster or Technomancer. But I love the bubble. The bubble's awesome. I found myself using it in a way where I would teleport behind somebody, blow them away, get everybody's attention. They would crowd me and then hit the bubble. And by the time I hit the bubble, you were there with your fire, the firewall where you bring up the fire from the ground. And also, the one I liked was I think this was when I was the Pyromancer and you were the Trickster. You'd set the bubble down, and then I would use that enemy detonation.
Right.
When we get to the Pyromancer, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But there's an ability where you can tag an enemy. As long as you aim correctly, you tag an enemy, and if their health is low enough, they levitate into the air, 10, 15 feet into the air, and they blow up, destroying everything around them.
Right.
The time bubble is perfect for that.
Yeah, and then almost like you said, I find myself hard to imagine if you didn't have a Trickster in your party, because it just sets up for so many combos. Now I know the Technomancer has a turret that freezes enemies. Now you could set up combos that way, but the turret takes like, it'll freeze like 1, 2, 3 enemies. The bubble freezes anything that was already there. You know what I'm saying? And sets that up so perfectly.
Yeah, that's I think that so far I've only played 3 of the classes. So far, that's the Trickster is my favorite. The sword swipe is really good for bosses.
Mm-hmm.
But the charged bullets, that's a great that's a great ability when you're fighting either a lot of enemies at one time or with a lot of defense. You know.
No, definitely. And again, just like the Devastator, it's all about getting close, controlling the battlefield, and killing as many enemies as you can while close range. I just feel like, unlike the Devastator, I feel like the Trickster is a little squishy. So, like, if you're out of your abilities and there's, like, a bunch of enemies there, you got to get out. You have to, like, roll back or fall back, because you don't have as much health as the Devastator. Devastator doesn't have that much crowd control, though. So, if Devastator needs to get out, you can use your Golem ability and just get out of there, or just keep killing with the Golem ability.
I was going to actually mention the same exact thing before we moved on from the Devastator. Is I found myself using the Golem ability. I'd run in, start a bunch of shit, mow a bunch of motherfuckers down, and then when my health would start to get, about a quarter of the health, I'd let myself just get blasted, because I'm really close quarters.
Mm-hmm.
I turn on the Golem ability and then go run for cover and start, picking them off one by one.
Right.
But the Golem ability, I was using it. In that application. Another thing I want to mention about while we're on this is. I love how the game lets you, it almost gives you carte blanche on how you use your abilities. Like you can get really fucking creative on how you apply these abilities on the battlefield, how you apply them with your partners, how you apply them with a different combination of classes,
right?
In any given fire team or squad or whatever. So it's I really like the it's just a blank canvas, and you just use your abilities however it comes innately to you, and it's great. I find myself playing differently than some of the times I was playing with you, when we were using the same class.
Right. And I think that's a cool aspect that, I don't know if you ever played Mass Effect 3 or the Mass Effect franchise, but they added a multiplayer mode to the last Mass Effect game that came out for Mass Effect 3, right? And it's almost a very similar style where it's a cover-based shooter, and you played all these different aliens, but each of them had different abilities. And you could use some of those abilities in conjunction with other players to set up like a good combo, right? In Mass Effect, there was abilities called primers, and then there was abilities called finishers. So someone could prime the ability, and then someone could use their finisher to then do the combo. You know what I'm saying? And that's how a lot of that multiplayer went for that game. And that multiplayer wasn't against people; it was 4 of you versus like a bunch of AI enemies.
Oh, that's great.
And it kind of feels the same way, because in Destiny, Division, and some of these games, even in Avengers sometimes, it doesn't always feel like you're working together. It just feels like you're fighting for kills. While in Outriders, you feel like you're contributing together and killing this mob of enemies together. Because again, at least in Destiny, when I play a lot of Destiny, which and you're always fighting for kills. Even when you're doing dungeon runs, when you're doing a lot of group activities, it never feels like you're fully working together. Like, it's great when you're all just killing stuff, but you're fighting for kills. While in this game, you're helping each other set up for combos and making sure that you all survive the engagement.
Not unlike Gears, it kind of does put you in a situation where I played by myself, and it's a lot more fun playing in a squad. It almost forces you to play in a team. Not really. It's still rewarding playing playing by yourself, but when you're in a squad, it's a lot more satisfying when you throw up a firebomb, or you turn an enemy into a firebomb inside of a time bubble, and all those guys were frozen before the time bubble hit. It's just like, I find myself saying fuck yeah constantly.
Hell yeah. And when you throw down the time bubble and I throw up my firewall with the Pyromancer, it just feels great. Now let's move on to the Pyromancer. Pyromancer is definitely not your up close. It's not your long range like your Technomancer. It's your medium range character, and it's our
Right.
only medium range character that we have. What do you think about the Pyromancer?
I'm not sure if it's just the way it felt, or if it's because I played it by my. I played like half of the leveling up with my um. I think I got up to like level 4 or 5 with the Pyromancer by myself. I was up to like level 4.5 by myself before we started playing together again.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if I'm tripping, but it did feel like the Pyromancer was a little bit of a glass cannon.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Where it's lots of damage, but I found myself fighting for health a lot. Running for cover a lot, and I really enjoyed the Pyromancer's enemy detonation ability. Um, what else? What was the other? What were the other abilities?
Okay, so you
Or
have the firewall, you have the detonation ability, you
right.
have what's the other one? There was
Oh, the get over here, the fire get over here.
exactly where you
Yeah.
would. I figured out that it stuns them in place, and if you kill them while they're stunned, you get health back.
Right, right. And but that get that kind of like that fire pull.
Hmm.
That thing is it's great for bosses when they're charging up and stuff like that, or
Right,
they're
right.
healing themselves, and you want to interrupt them. That fire pull is great.
And then they have their fourth ability, which is like almost like a little mini shockwave around your body. So you could do like you could do a firewall, get like 3 4 enemies ignited, and then do that last ability where it sends a shockwave if you're close to them, and then boom, then they all suddenly explode. But that one has a long cooldown, so you can't use it as freely as the other
Use it
abilities.
sparingly, yeah.
But I totally agree with you. I feel like the Pyromancer is a great, powerful class, but super squishy because even when I was playing by myself as a Pyromancer, I found myself in a lot of situations where I would murder a lot, but as soon as my abilities were down, I had to run
Oh
for
yeah,
cover because I didn't have anything else to contest with.
yeah. One of the initial sniper towers, it took me a couple tries to get through it. And I was playing with the Pyromancer when I played with the Trickster and with the Devastator. I got right through it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it seems like the Pyromancer is great in a squad. As soon as that we started playing in a team, I felt myself being able to apply. Um, while you're out there, you were running and gunning and getting up close and personal. I felt like I was able to uh, to be a working cog in the machine of our squad. You know what I
Right.
mean? I felt
Like
like
I
it was
drew
a
the
lot more
attention,
fun.
and you were able to set up your spells and your
Exactly.
abilities.
Alone, it works. It's fine. It's fun,
It
but it was a lot more fun in a team.
No, yeah, definitely. Like you can play as a pyromancer. I don't think there's any problem playing as a pyromancer by yourself. It's just
Right.
it requires a different strategy than playing those other classes.
That's true.
Like
That's
some
true.
you are more of a hit and run, so you have to like use your ability, kill as many as you can, then back off a bit, and then once your abilities are back, then you can go ahead and keep hitting and running, keep
That was
lowering
a
their
perfect
numbers.
way.
It's not like the Devastator or the Trickster where you just keep constantly killing into your in and staying close. Like with the Pyromancer, you definitely don't want them to be up to your face because you don't have as much armor or as much health as other classes either.
But I found more success, and you put it perfectly. Success with the Pyromancer, the more aggressive I got.
Hmm.
So the sniper tower that I mentioned earlier, I found more success just running right up to the fucking sniper, hitting him with a melee and a shotgun. The ground pound melee,
Hmm.
and then the shotgun, and then running back for cover and just doing laps around the map, and kind of bottlenecking the enemy
No, yeah,
into
definitely. Like if you
into
can
your
get them
tower.
lined up with that firewall ability is just great. It's one of the I
Oh
don't
yeah,
see anyone not using that ability. Now, the get over here, the stun with the fire. I think that one I can take it or leave it really. And I know
yeah.
you're gonna get I think 6 more abilities. You have I think a total of 9 or 8 abilities
Which
by the
is
time you
awesome.
level up all the way, and you can only
Yeah,
have 3. So you have a good mix of things you can switch it for as well.
yeah.
Okay.
A lot of customization on that front. The fire pool,
Hmm.
I found a lot of success with it on taking out berserkers. I found a lot of
Definitely because it
yeah,
stops them dead in their tracks. It's great for that.
yeah. And if you got a shotgun, you pull that berserker towards you when it's about to hit you and blast it right there.
Hmm.
It pretty much wipes them out in that combination. I
Definitely.
didn't play as the Technomancer. Tell me about your experience with the Technomancer, man.
Well, for definitely for the Technomancer, I'll be honest with you, I was really excited for the Technomancer when it came out,
Yeah,
at
that
least
was the
when I
first
saw
one.
the abilities. But after playing the other three classes, I just feel like the Technomancer is lagging a little bit behind because it doesn't
Ooh,
have as much of a killing potential. But it's definitely
right.
your utility class. It has turrets, it has a freaking sick ass carpet bomb motor ability, and it has pestilence or poison abilities where you can make all your
Nice.
bullets be life leeching, right? Sorry, life leech is a mechanic in the game where as you're shooting enemies, you're healing yourself. So he has almost like the temporal bullets that the Trickster has. He has leech bullets. So what when you
Nice.
load your magazine with these bullets, whatever enemy that you're shooting at, if he's nearby other enemies, it'll start draining their lives as well and healing you.
So I didn't realize this until you mentioned that because I didn't know the bleach bullets. When I was playing with my Pyromancer, I picked up a gun and I realized that some of the guns, especially some of the higher like legendary and epic guns,
Hmm.
they're infused with class powers,
Right.
class abilities. So you can be a pyromancer with a gun that has life leech that's infused with some technomancer power,
Exactly.
or you can be a devastator with oh, I'm sorry, you could be a trickster
Hmm.
with a devastator infused gun, and you have flame bullets and stuff like that. So I really like that you can that even as a different class, you can still kind of get a dip a toe in a different class depending on the weapons you pick up. That's really cool.
Definitely, and again, Technomancer. I don't have anything against the Technomancer, but it does feel like a support class. Like I think that's what it's meant to be, because you are supposed to be more far away. It's definitely the sniper class because again, like I mentioned, Technomancer is good for support. It has a lot of utility and gadgets, but also has that bonus damage to headshots for any type of
Right,
marksman
right.
rifle. So any type of sniper, any type of bolt action rifle, you do a lot more damage, and it shows because I tried using sniper weapons with other classes to see how it felt, and like when you do a headshot with a Technomancer, they're dead because you're doing that
Mhm.
extra damage, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
but
noticed
it,
that too, a disparity in the damage,
right,
the difference in damage between classes, especially with the sniper. That's kind of the more telltale one for me. That's where I noticed. I was like, oh, cool. The damage is adjusted class.
right, exactly, and that's why you have your different play styles. And again, there's nothing wrong with the Technomancer. I just hope that when you level up the game, he's able to handle himself more, because it definitely looks like based on the classes that you can choose from, there's some cool abilities that lets him be more of his own murder machine, or he could be a good
Right,
complement to the team as well. Like I could see,
right, right.
I think there was one called like Death and Decay or War Machine, whatever. Right? There was like all these names for these different classes for the Technomancer, and some definitely sounded more like for him to be a one man army, and some were more about no, let me help my team with decay bullets and freezing of the enemies and
Right.
things like that.
It's a whole new ball game when you put it in the location, and it's great because you can have characters that are kind of preset or customized to play single player, and then you can have characters that are kind of customized to be playing in squads. Another cool thing that I notice is your skill tree, because you can kind of emphasize three different subcategories in your skill tree, right?
Hmm.
For each class. You can reset them too. You can take all your skills back. Let's say you try it one way and you fill up one facet of the skill tree. You can take all of that back and put it on the next skill. So if you want to customize your Technomancer to be support, and then you're like, I'm done with this, you can just take all your skills back and then be more of a tank, or however it is. We didn't get that far,
No,
but I
because
I
they only
saw
give you
that.
about two skill trees, but they show you what it could
Exactly,
be or what you're gonna
exactly.
get eventually.
They show you the potential, and I mean that skill tree. I freaked out looking at it. I was like, Jesus Christ,
Right,
there's so yeah.
and it's
It,
very in depth because one of the main
mhm.
complaints that Destiny has is, or a lot of players have, is that we don't have a lot of control over how we can differentiate my Titan versus someone else's Titan. Right, in
Right,
this game, you definitely can be a completely different Devastator or a completely different Trickster based on one of those three classes.
right, right. Yeah, the customization. I think it's pretty in depth.
Dude, I'm excited to once the game comes out to fully, level up one of our characters and then dig
Yeah,
deeper into that skill tree and see which abilities are good, which are not. Because there's always going to be some that are going to be better than others,
of course.
and then they'll patch them and update them in that way. But either way, so far, what class am I going to stick with, or what class I think I'm going to stay playing the game with. It's kind of hard to say. I kind of want to stick with the Technomancer just because I had already chosen that class before I even played the game. Now playing all four classes, I don't know. I'm really having a hard time wanting to see if I can stick with the Technomancer, but I didn't want to play the Devastator either because I feel like I play those type of characters all the time in other games. I wanted something different, so I might either go with the Pyromancer or just stick with the Technomancer for now, and then level up another one. I would say right now at the moment, Pyromancer and Technomancer are tied for me as my first class to level up. Then I would definitely want to be a Devastator next, and then the Trickster last at the end.
Trickster is going to be my first playthrough, definitely.
Okay.
I love the quantum time bending abilities.
Quantum Mania.
Yeah, man, I love that shit. I'm like, quantum bubbles, you got me. I'm sold. No, but I really, the Trickster was like, I was sold when I was playing as a Trickster. So as soon as I get done with the Technomancer, and I'll let you know how that goes. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get through it with you, but yeah, the Trickster is definitely going to be my main, you know, and then I'm gonna go all the way with that one, then probably go into the Devastator after.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Pyromancer, and then Technomancer.
Yeah, I just feel like Technomancer is that class that's going to be on the bottom of a lot of people's list, but then the people who are Technomancers are going to be like, no, this is an amazing class, you know?
Oh, yeah,
it's always going to be the people who are fighting for the low tier hero, well, at least in fighting games. In fighting games, you have this concept called the low tier hero, where... Sorry, one second. Okay, so you have this low tier hero where... people will choose characters that are technically not good, or a lot of the community say they're not good, but in the hands of this player, it's amazing. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it's going to be the same thing with the Technomancer, where people who don't like playing the Technomancer, but people who do are going to be amazing at it.
Right. That's typically how it goes. I mean, my brother is, he either goes for the, anytime I play games with my brother, he typically goes for the low tier hero, or he'll get the one that's most obnoxious and get really good. And then it gets in your head. You're like, how are you beating me with this shitty ass character? And,
right.
you know, but it works great. It's great, like psychological warfare. I love it.
Okay. Let's go ahead and, okay, so we gave kind of a brief overview of how we feel about each classes. Hopefully you can let us know how you felt in the comments below, or on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. Again, let us know what you think about the classes and how you've been feeling Outrider has been treating you. Do you like the demo? Are you liking the gameplay? Are you liking the story? Next thing I wanted to go over for the demo was, let's talk about the enemy placement, the density, and the bosses. Let me just give my super brief overview. I think enemies are great. You have your grunts, right? The ones that are shooting from far. You have your berserker guys that are coming up to you. You have your tanks, which is the guys with, you know, the heavier armor, and I think they have a machine gun. I'm not entirely too sure. It looks like they have a machine gun on them.
Machine gun or shotgun?
Exactly. And then you have your captains, which are the ones that have actual abilities that can summon fire pillars, that can summon like a quantum force bullet, or can heal themselves. At least that's what I've seen so far.
And they're typically altered as well, right? The captains?
Right, exactly. That's what I meant. Like, you have your grunts, like the regular run and shoot type of characters that are always seeking cover. You have your berserkers that have the knives that are straight up just running up to you for melee damage. And then you have the... I'm pretty sure I can look it up, but I think they're called insurgents, which is the ones... They look like they have like a gas mask, and they have like shoulder pads, and they have a giant trench coat. And those are the ones that are more tanky. And then you have the captains, which is the ones that actually have powers.
Right.
And what do you think about the enemy? At least the enemies that you've fought so far, for these are called the insurgents. What do you think about the insurgents enemy faction?
The insurgents, you said those are the flak jacket gas mask guys, right?
Exactly, correct. It's pretty much everything we've been fighting. They're all insurgents because if you look at the lore tab of the type of enemies you fight, those are like the first 5 enemies you fight, and there's like 20 different empty spots for more enemies. So we're gonna be
Oh,
finding a lot of
jeez.
different type of enemies out there.
That's better than Avengers.
We're just robots.
Aimbots, aimbots, and aimbots. All the way.
All the way.
Don't forget the super adaptoid.
What do you, okay,
Getting
let
smacked
me ask you this. What do you think about the grunts? Pretty basic standard, right? Like they're just shooting,
Yeah.
you take them out easy, right?
I like the aggression. I like the level of aggression. They come at you. They cover for a little bit. The
Yeah.
AI isn't the best, but it's not. I've played worse. Definitely played worse. I haven't seen an enemy just running into a wall perpetually. You know what I mean? Like I haven't seen anything like that. It seems pretty sound all the way through. They are very aggressive. The grenades get a little annoying, but I also understand that they keep you from getting complacent. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
You have to they're there to force you out of cover so that you have to add versatility to the way you play.
And I think it's those tankier enemies. I think they drop a grenade when they die. They always drop a grenade when they die. And I know those grunts, the ones that are always shooting for you from far away. They're the ones that they throw grenades, or those tankier ones drop a grenade when they die.
Right. The grenade drop doesn't bother me. It was just sometimes it's when multiple enemies throw grenades, it almost like there's nowhere to go when multiple enemies throw a grenade in your direction, because sometimes they do. And I found myself evading a grenade and kind of barrel rolling into another grenade. You know what I mean? I was like, God damn it! But it's just what happens. But yeah, that's a minor nuisance, but it's part of the gameplay.
Right.
But I really like the enemies. Those flak jacket guys, they're pretty challenging for being just basic enemies. Berserkers they're extremely violent. They remind me of the psychos from Borderlands. But they're a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to evade them. It's a little if I'm not mistaken, they typically come in batches of 3.
Yeah, like 3 or 4, right? It always feels like they come in like in a certain amount of group each time.
So if you use up your abilities, if you go 1 ability, 2 ability, 3 abilities, and you missed one, or if there's a 4th one, you got to get ready to have some kind of close quarters combat, and I think that's awesome.
I think it becomes Dark Souls, where you're just suddenly rolling everywhere until your abilities come back.
Oh yeah, you're just more of a tumbler than a gun. No, but it's I enjoy it. I enjoy the enemy, the versatility. We played against the insurgents, and then we also played against the hounds. The hounds are the guys in the red suits, right?
Yeah.
So there's 2. I think we've played against 2 different classes.
Right.
So I enjoyed that,
because I know the hounds have flamethrower guys in their enemy faction.
Yeah, those guys are a bitch.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think about the captains then? These are the enemies that have a name to them. It'll say like Captain Ulysses or something. I think I don't fully see their names in the middle of combat because again we're just trying to kill them. But you can clearly tell that they have a captain name, and they're the only ones that have abilities that you can interrupt. They can summon fire pillars, they can summon like force bubbles, and they can heal themselves to max level. Now, we're going to talk about it in a couple minutes that they're going to address some of that healing. But yeah, it was a bitch to have to kill the captain just for him to heal himself all the way back again.
Yeah, it definitely forces you into a pacing. It forces you into some kind of into really pacing your aggression and saving your abilities. A lot of these captains have lower tier enemies around them, distracting and kind of just being a pains in the ass. But so you kind of have to figure out which of your abilities interrupt the captain's healing animation, the little when he goes into the animation, and kind of reserve it for when you see the captain.
Or when you see an opportunity, just like you said, like you made a great point about the pacing, where it definitely like you have to know when to fight the captain or when to fight the minions, because the minions can kill you if you're concentrating too much on the captain.
Absolutely, yeah. It just kind of forces you to consider the different factors that are happening on the battlefield. But I really like it. I like the the pacing. I like that it forces you out of cover. I like that
Hmm.
these guys have powers, and the way they demonstrate their powers. It's almost like if you played as one of those characters, it'd be a fully fleshed out class. You know, like
Right.
the electricity guy, the guy with the quantum bubble throwing the purple portals at
Hmm.
you, and I think he's also the same guy that throws the little spinning bars of energy.
Right. Exactly. Uh,
Yeah, I think it's the same
Captains
guy.
have
So
those. Yeah, different captains have different abilities, but you're right. Like some of them have like their own unique abilities. Uh,
yeah,
Gauss, which I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but his name is Gauss,
yeah,
that electric guy. He has like all
right,
these abilities. He has like a shield, lightning bubbles on the ground. I think that boss fight
yeah,
was in general pretty good. Kind
yeah.
of hard by yourself, depending on what class you are, but as a team, it's really fun to fight those type of boss level characters.
His ability where he brings up from the ground and the rebars side, it's great because it almost gets the entire level design and changes the floor plan.
Hmm.
You know, because it's a big open, area with a couple of boxes and a couple of areas for cover.
Hmm.
But if you're not paying attention, you're going to step over some of these electrical traps. And it's great because every time you play it, it's a different floor plan as far as what's going to damage you and what's not.
Right.
The other ability that he has that I found really challenging, but it was a lot of fun to evade was the the electrical spot that kind of
Yeah, the circles
scans
that
the
follow you.
floor. Yeah, there's like electrical radial circles that kind of like they're like a homing lightning type of thing, and that was real challenging. That's definitely one that where you have to use an ability that interrupts the guy.
Hmm. No, yeah, definitely,
I
and
enjoy that one.
I think either way, Gauss. Oh, again, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
Yeah,
Gauss,
probably,
uh,
probably.
he's a great first boss for, especially for this demo. I think he
Yeah,
sets up the tone. I'm excited to see what other boss characters we fight. Are they all going to be human alters? Are there still going to be, animal bosses? Things like that, like or
yeah,
weird creatures that we're
yeah.
going to have to fight. I'm really excited to see what else it comes up with. When we see those
Enhanced
big named enemies.
enhanced wildlife. That's like my thinking for this game.
Right,
Enhanced wildlife. If there's a boss that's a one of those walking whales that spits lava out of its face, or he's got some kind of electrical power,
right.
that'd be badass. But again, wishful thinking.
Well, either way, it sounds like they made a good. I think kind of like any good shooter, they made a good variety of enemies. Some that get you out of cover, some of your grunts, your snipers, your captains. People who require more strategy things. I think it's a good mix of characters and
Yeah,
enemies to
yeah.
fight against. Okay, last thing that we're going to touch on the gameplay, and then we're going to move on to the news. I want to talk about a little bit about the reward system. Now, what I mean by that is everything that the game is trying to reward you with. Everything from armor to weapons to the emotes and the things you get from the acolytes section of the game. Um, I think that the guns and the way that the game rewards you is great. I like the fact that, like you mentioned earlier in a couple minutes ago, about getting your different powers and abilities into the weapons, and they can enhance those powers. Some weapons can shoot fire bullets. I know from the PR marketing material that the blue guns that we're getting now it's like one ability, right? When you get purple or
Yeah.
legendary items, they're gonna have 2 to 3 abilities, and that's gonna be
Oof.
really exciting to see how that all mixes with your playstyle. Because again, not only are you getting abilities from the guns, but you're also getting your own abilities in your own class trees, which I think is great for customization. You can really find a good combo that works well with your class and for yourself as well. The only thing I have issues with when it comes to the guns and armor is that I don't think there's enough fanfare for when you get these items. I feel like, yeah, when you finish a quest reward, great. You see, they give you 3 options of what you want to pick from. That's amazing because nothing's worse than having to get a reward and it's something that you don't need. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love that they give you
Right,
the
right.
option that when you first finish that quest or that storyline, is that here's 3 options that you can choose from. What is it that you want? And I love that. I hate it when it's randomized and you get something that is not going to help you, and then you have to do
Or
that mission
doesn't
and get to get something else.
or doesn't like complement your play style. The fact that you
Exactly.
can, you get the options between a badass machine gun or a jacked up sniper or a crazy shotgun. The fact that you can like choose, it's nice because there's been a bunch of times where I'm playing a game and then and I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking use this. You know what I mean? Like this is, I'm just gonna sell it or break it apart for resources,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, but being able to do that it's great, and I think it contributes to the idea. It looks like, the idea is customize the way you play. It's like, here's the blank slate, here's the world we created, and have at it.
And that's so great, especially because in other games sometimes it feels so limiting on how you can create your character, right? Even to this day, after playing the Division 1 and the Division 2, it's harder for me to tell between one assault rifle from the other one, because they all, at least for the Division, it tries to go for more realistic portrayal of weapons, right? So they don't have abilities. You have like gadgets and stuff, but at the same time, like when you're making your loadout in the Division, it was very hard to personalize what I wanted to do, because either I didn't have the weapon or it just didn't play in the way that I wanted it to play, right? But in this game, like you mentioned, it's a blank slate, and you can choose weapons that complement your playstyle, or complement or complement the combos that you're going for, and then add that among with your abilities, and then add that with your class abilities as well. That is cool.
That's really cool. The thing that I would love to see in the full version, and I'm not sure if we covered this already or not, but I would love to see a weapons upgrade system, like a way where you can upgrade a weapon. Let's say you play with a gun and you
Oh no, yeah, they're definitely adding that. That's why you're getting that
okay.
iron, because eventually they're gonna add. We haven't opened it up yet, but there is a crafting system. They have hinted at.
Oh fuck yeah, awesome.
So I don't know how deep the crafting system is, because the Division had a good crafting system where you can even get some really amazing guns. Not Destiny, but I think Borderlands also had crafting as well. I may be wrong
I want
about
to
this,
say they
but
did.
anything that you crafted wasn't as good as stuff that you found in the wild, you know?
Right, right.
But either way, I hope that my main thing is that when you do at least for the demo, when you're redoing the side quest, it doesn't even tell you that after you finish that quest you got something. It just shows up in your inventory. I wish that hopefully they can fix that,
Oh,
where when
I
you
see
finish
what you
this,
mean.
when you repeat a side quest and you finish it again, it will show you, oh, you got this gun out of that repeating that side quest. It just shows up in your inventory. It doesn't tell you anything. Only when you
Right.
beat the side quest the first time, it gives you the option between the three.
Okay, okay. I see what you mean about having fanfare.
Yeah, like I feel like you need to celebrate a little bit of whenever you get something good, because I mean that's the whole point of this. It's a looter shooter. You want to be able
Shoot 'em loot.
to have fun and be excited of some of the drops that you're getting, because I mean right now we're only seeing like white, greens, and blues, but as soon as the purple drops, as soon as a yellow exotic weapon drops, you're gonna be like, holy shit, a legendary Irish just dropped right now, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
want that
gonna.
fanfare, and hopefully,
You
at least
want
for the
that little.
questing system, I hope they fix that on that end.
Yeah, you want that little moment in Zelda Ocarina of Time when he holds up any of the important items that you get for your inventory.
Right?
It kind
Like
of just
da da da
hovers
da.
like six. Yeah, and it hovers like 6 inches above your hands.
Like
Oh,
oh,
that's great.
just majestic. Oh.
Yeah, no, yeah. Every time, man.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a little. I see what you're saying, man. There's a lot of times I check my inventory and I was like, wait a minute, when the did I get this? Like I don't remember, getting that.
right,
And
right.
I've been, and I'm struggling through the beginning of the next section without knowing.
No, yeah. When we did some of the when we were redoing some of the side quests, yeah, it was one of those things where it would just show up in your inventory. And they said that, well, today, after today, if you're listening to this podcast in a couple of days, but today is Friday, and they're coming out with that maintenance patch on the back end, where if you do a side quest, you have an increased chance of getting better weapons now, purple and legendary weapons as well.
That's great.
Okay, so the reward system feels great. It needs a little bit of work. I feel like the side quest, that issue needs to be addressed, but I don't think it's gonna be a big issue for them. Hopefully, they can get it addressed.
One
Let's.
thing,
Mhm.
I want to mention before I move on,
Yeah.
I did notice that there was a, when we're talking about getting guns and stuff like that, in between levels, there were some weapons that were complete game changers, and that's something that I really appreciated of the reward system,
Oh yeah, definitely.
you're struggling through a piece, and you're struggling through a piece, and the level design is great throughout. I really think the level design is great. Only thing I don't like about the level design is that it's not vertical. There's no vertical. It's only ramps and jumping onto, like, 4 foot platforms, three
Yeah.
foot platforms. There's no ladders. There's no sniper towers. There's nothing like that. And I wish it had a little bit more vertical engagement.
I
when it
get you.
comes
Like
to, you get what
places
I'm
where you
saying?
could use your sniper from on high.
Exactly. So imagine, imagine you're up high sniping, and then you do a gravity jump with the Devastator,
Mm-hmm.
down onto a bunch of guys that have collected underneath you. I think that'd be really cool. And there are flat out ladders in the game that you just can't use. You can't access.
Which is weird.
It's very weird. It pulls
Yeah.
you out of it a little bit. But either way, these guns, that was just a side note. But these guns, they were definite game changers. So I could see where adding a little bit more fanfare or ceremony to getting these guns, I could see where that could be, that could really drive that reward system home.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.